the computer. So, good morning. This is Pushing Boundaries, a podcast about pioneering research, breakthrough discoveries, and unconventional ideas. I'm your host, Dr. Thomas R. Werney. My guest today is Professor Thomas Hartung, MD, PhD. He's a former head of the European Commission Center for the Validation of Alternative Methods and has authored more than 560, probably by this time, probably it's 561, scientific...
Actually 640 in the meantime. Good morning and thanks for having me.
I don't know how you ever find time to write all these papers. And he has received 16 different awards, ranging from the German Ministry of Health to Hellenistic Society of Toxicology. Professor Hartung is presently the Dorenkamp-Zbinden Chair for Evidence-Based Toxicology in the Department of Environmental Health and Engineering at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health in Baltimore, with a joint appointment at the Whiting School of Engineering. He also holds a joint appointment for molecular microbiology and immunology at the Bloomberg School. In addition, he holds a joint appointment as professor for pharmacology and toxicology at University of Constance, Germany. He's also director of Centers for Alternatives to Animal Testing of both universities. I'm almost finished. He's adjunct professor at Georgetown University, Washington, D.C., and in his not-so-free time, I admire that, he is chief editor of Frontiers in Artificial Intelligence. Welcome, Thomas.
Good. Not much time left for the podcast after
No,
this.
not much time left. No. We'll see what we can do. So these past few weeks, image generators like DALL, E2, and language models like ChatGPT are grabbing the headlines. But you have been working on what sounds like an equally, if not more, revolutionary research, namely computers powered by human brain cells, part of a new field called Organoid Intelligence. So would you please tell me more about that? What is that? Yeah.
No, I mean, from all the different affiliations I have, in essence, I'm interested in two different things. One is in advanced cell culture, and here we are focusing mainly on the brain. We call them brain organoids, which is a really breakthrough technology in recent years. And the second one is artificial intelligence, AI. And merging these two, bringing them together, gives OI, Organoid Intelligence. So the idea is, how far can we get by letting brain organoids for us do also some computational work? And this sounds like science fiction and probably is in large part, because we are at the very beginning of this, but we see that these organoids can actually start to play the computer game Pong or do similar things. And even though a computer, which is a big brain equivalent, is far away and perhaps we will never want to be there, there is a lot of gain on the way, which we are at the moment systematically attacking.
So you have said, I think, I have a quote here, which says, brains have an amazing capacity to store information, estimated at 2,500 terabytes. We are reaching the physical limits of silicon computers because we cannot pack more transistors into a tiny chip. And that is why you think that we have to go the way of the organoids, correct?
Yeah, let's say this was one of our advertisement lines.
Okay.
I mean, you have to compare here a reality, which is at the moment we would be very happy if we could do what a handheld calculator can do. And we are comparing really two extremes. One is the highly optimized brain after millions of years of evolution and supercomputers. There's still an edge for the brain, but to promise that we will at any time have an artificial system which is outperforming a supercomputer, is certainly a very bold claim. But the comparison still shows that biology does it differently, and because it does it differently, also offers a potential. And whether we will really build them as a cellular computer, or whether we simply will learn how the brain does the trick, and then what we call neuromorphic computation, that we are trying to build our systems following this role model, these are two completely different ways to go.
So I am somewhat familiar with Michael Levin's work at Tufts University, also on organoids, tiny little artificial animals that he has kind of produced. Is that similar to your work?
Yeah, this, on the one hand, yes. This is, let's say, it really was these two pillars of AI and the organoid work which were brought together here for the first time, which might make the difference. And you know, to grow cells of humans is something we can do since 1956, when the first human tumor cell line was created here at Hopkins. But, if you are working on brains like I do, it's very difficult to pick people's brain in a non-literal way. You will not be willing to make any donations for my work. So we were really restricted in only being able to use animals or animal brain cells until stem cells of humans were introduced. And they are ethically non-problematic only since 2006, when Yamanaka found a way that you can take just a bit of skin or later blood cells, which are reprogrammed to become stem cells, so not problematic, an informed consent. The donor knows that you'd want to do research with it and what you want to do, typically. And then you can start forming organs. And it took until 2013 when the first brain organoids of human cells were generated. This was a big show, Nature paper for the Lancaster and Al paper from the Knoblich group in Vienna. We were at the time already 2 years working ourselves on brain organoids and had started publishing, but they had the big show. Yeah. And it was a bit more than 2 years later that we were able, as the fourth group publishing on brain organoids, that we were able to mass produce them. So instead of each of these brain organoids being very large and looking very different, and most of them somehow a bit rotten in the core because oxygen and nutrients did not really enter sufficiently, we produced thousands, millions of them. And this was a big hit because that was the starting point for using them in toxicology and in pharmacology. Because if you want to develop a drug, you cannot easily work with things which look very different every day and each and one of them. And so we have been introducing really a new quality here. And since 2016, we have been publishing on one disease after the other where these brain organoids are helping us to work with human relevant models in a non-problematic and fast and economic way.
So is there any danger of these organoids becoming conscious of themselves, like becoming like little animals themselves?
This was the instant reaction of people. Yeah, I presented this at the AAAS, which is a very big science journalist conference by the American Association for Advancement of Science in 2016. This was the first time we went public. And instantly somebody said, are they conscious? And my line, and it has been my standard line for many years following this, was they are thinking because they are logically active, but they have nothing to think about. They have no input and no output. And Organoid Intelligence is exactly changing this. It is saying, what happens if we give them input and output? So at the moment, I would say there is no risk of any type of consciousness in the foreseeable future. But in principle, we are enabling exactly the hurdle. We are making them possibly aware of their environment and we now have to start to define what is really sentience, what is suffering, what is intelligence,
Yes.
and what is consciousness in the end.
What is life?
Yeah, what is life? Now, life, I mean, that they live, they fulfill all definitions of a living being. They respond to the outside. They are metabolizing. So they really show they are a living system, but are they perceiving something? What do they know about their environment? And what are they capable of? It is really, we really have to define consciousness, sentience, and all of these things from its minimum. How much does it take to make a claim, this is an intelligent system, this is intelligence in a dish?
Can they reproduce?
Brain cells are dividing only a short period in organogenesis, and then they are terminally differentiated. So they would not typically grow again, though there is a small stem cell niche, as we call it, a few stem cells which can be reactivated and sometimes repair things. But in general, it is an organ which is just maintained, and as we all know, coming to older age is then continuously declining and failing us. It is not growing new cells and allowing us to rejuvenate the brain.
So how does a computer really stack up against the human brain?
I mean, in our paper, we make a comparison to the supercomputer, the #1 supercomputer in the world, which is the Frontier supercomputer in Kentucky, which in June of last year, for the first time, exceeded 1 exaflop, which is a measure of computational power, the number of operations which can be run. And 1 exaflop is exactly what a single human brain is estimated to deliver. We already quoted the 2.5 petabyte or 2,500 terabyte, which is the assumed memory capacity of a human brain. This is still pretty good. That's a mainframe computer at our university or so. This rank order of capacity. You can also say it a different way. The brain is about 1.5 kilograms, so like a laptop. We know that our computers get twice as strong every second year for the last 60 years, Moore's law. You have to wait another 33 years until your laptop performs as good as a human brain. So this shows you the distance we have from with respect to the power of a brain. Yeah.
So I've heard a lot about the Turing test, which is to tell computers and humans apart. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What is the Turing test?
Yeah, I mean, in the very early days of computers and robots, Turing said, in essence, if you cannot distinguish a computer and its answers from a human being, then it is intelligent and has passed the so-called Turing test now. Actually, we identify a computer very quickly, even though if you use these new things, ChatGPT or so, you sometimes might think, oh, this is an intelligent human being talking. You're talking. But a very simple trick, ask him what the square root of 2 is, and it will instantly give you 100 decimals after the comma, and you know that this was not done by a human.
Right.
So we identify them where they're outperformers. But we are actually relatively close already now to something which is indistinguishable from a human, also with respect to let's say the high quality information. So if you take GPT-4, which just came out on the 14th of March, it is performing at the 90th percentile. So better than 90% of the students in a simulated bar exam for lawyers. So whatever you think about lawyers, that's a pretty good intellectual task.
Yes.
And it shows that these systems are really catching up.
So you started off in environmental health and toxicology, right? your career, your academic career?
You know, there's two types of scientists. There's one type which has an area of work and they get deeper and deeper, and at the end of their life, they're the pope of this field.
Yes.
I've always been broad. I did study biochemistry and human medicine and mathematics, informatics. I have collected, as you counted, 5 professorships in the introduction, which are all very different, from infectious disease. So I really cannot say this is my area. This is why I'm always looking for connecting areas, like in case of Organoid Intelligence, AI and brain organoid work, which is as such a new combination. While there have been people over the last 20 years trying to do brain-machine interfaces or have been using AI to analyze the EEG of patients, but using the two together is really the novel aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. So was there anything in your own background that you think contributed to your sort of more 180-degree interest in science?
No, I loved all sciences, and like a sponge. I was already in high school or before middle school. I was doing these science fairs and very different topics from biology and chemistry, and that's simply my type. I'm fascinated by many things, but I always like to convert it from trying to understand to trying to do something with this knowledge. I'm trying to build something from what I have learned. And when I see such an opportunity to do something which could have an impact, I love to jump on it.
So what do you think will be the impact, or what do you hope will be the impact of this work in the long run?
I mean, the important message is that bioengineering with stem cells has given us now brain systems, human brain systems, which we can use for directly for studying aspects of neuroscience. If you have a system which is showing some learning, some memory, you can just study learning and memory in human system without using monkeys or the difficulty of testing something on humans, the non-mirroring of human physiology by rodents. All of this aside, you have a very simple system where you can test, where you can manipulate all the stuff we scientists love. And we can find out whether our assumptions and our textbook knowledge about learning and memory is correct, and drive it further. The second element then comes to where I'm mostly working, which is can we use such a system to identify chemicals which are producing autism? Can we use this to identify what is possibly contributing to Alzheimer's disease? Because it is not just the aging of our society. There's something more why these diseases are dramatically increasing. And then you can do the next step. You can ask, can we prevent it? Can we cure it? Can we develop drugs to help with this? And these are all near-term goals. These are goals where we essentially we are working on this already. We are producing brain organoids from Alzheimer patients, from autistic children, and we are trying to see how do they behave in comparison to those from healthy donors. And the third aim is then the computing side. And this is certainly the most visionary of all. It is something where we have a long-term perspective necessarily. And where, as I said, we might just learn how to build our computers better from it. But it could very well be that at some point we decide a large organoid, perhaps several kilograms large, could add something to our silicon-based computers as a component which is helping and supporting it.
It's very, very interesting. Very interesting. So, are you presently working on a book?
No, I don't. My former mentor always said, write books after your retirement.
Okay.
In our fast-paced scientific world, we are trying to get things out as quick as possible. You have to see AI over the last 10, 12 years has been doubling in capacity every 3 months. If I write a book, you know it, you have done so, it takes you a year after writing until it's on the market. So everything would be outdated in a fast-paced field like mine. So I'm really trying to get things sometimes even out without going through these long peer review processes of science, just putting it out as my personal opinion and saying, here, guys, I would like to share something with you before it is outdated.
Well, speaking of that, so did you meet any obstacles to your work? Did you run into any resistance to this kind of work at any of the universities that you are associated with?
No, not at all. And I think this has to do, first of all, with the fact that we, from the very beginning, worked with bioethicists, because ethical questions would, if at all, be the ones which would be raised. So we teamed up here in Hopkins with the Berman Institute for Bioethics, which is really a leading organization in this field. They have been part of many processes. At this moment, they're already surveying a general population, ask about this research. When people start saying, oh, perhaps you should think about this twice, and they ask, you know, this is done with informed consent. So the people who gave the cells agreed on this, and this is done to find cures for Alzheimer. We want to know, does this change perception of people? Yeah. We don't want at some point to come out with a system and say, here is the product. And they say, oh.
Right.
You understand, this is very important that we have an ethical discussion. And we have the ethicists sitting with us while we plan the experiments. They come to our labs and see what we are really talking about. And then this puts a lot of things into perspective. Yeah, if you see these tiny brain organoids, which often have about the number of neurons as a fly. Yeah, so you don't believe that this will be a system you can talk to. Yeah, if you
no, not yet, not yet. Are your parents still alive?
My mother is. Yeah.
And what did your father do?
Oh, my father was an accountant and CFO of a company, a building.
Did your parents understand your work? Did you talk to them? Were you able to talk to them about it?
No, they don't really. I don't think they understand. They understand some of the big lines, and they occasionally read an article. So my mother is proud to see me in the German newspapers or occasionally. If there's anything in German, I send it to her. But I don't think she would get much more than that I'm trying to replace animal research and that I'm a respected scientist, which makes her very proud.
Right, and rightly so. Do you have any children?
Yes, I do.
How old are they?
We have a 16-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Okay, and the 16-year-old, does he understand? Does he understand more your work?
Yeah, but he does, and but his interest is clearly more into art. So we find more discussions about movies and how they are made, perhaps some politics, but he occasionally gets something of our discussions, but not more. But his mother is actually part of my team. She's the first author of the paper. Yeah, she's doing the brain organoid research in my team.
Oh, so you work together sometimes?
Yeah, absolutely. Every day we, you know, my way of retaining talent is to marry, and so I changed her job profile to 24/7. I often say, and we are. It is wonderful to work together and discuss ideas at very strange times of the day.
Do you ever disagree?
Oh yes, absolutely, and this is a good thing. Scientists who are agreeing are boring. Yeah, I mean
that's true. That's true.
It needs different perspectives, and this is certainly a very important part of it.
Well, it sounds as if you were working very hard. How do you relax?
I mean, first, sleep is overrated.
You said that before, I think. Yes. Okay.
I love jazz music and photography. And if I really have a lot of time, which does not happen often, I like some magic.
Oh, really? You do magic, magical tricks?
Yeah, I'm mainly interested in mentalism.
Yes.
Because it is so just reading minds, making predictions, all these impossible things, and because I think it's just the opposite of science, yeah, producing a
Yes.
fake by purpose to entertain,
Yes.
and it tells us a lot about how we mislead and are misled in also in our work. I really think it helps to understand also the um, logic and illogic of the scientific machinery.
Interesting. Interesting. Um, so in terms of your life, can you tell me how old are you approximately? 50, 55?
Thanks a lot. I'm turning 60 this year.
60. Well, you look much younger. So in your 60 years,
I was always perceived as much older when I was young, and
yes.
some seemed not to age well. I didn't get a bad start. I was considered only in my late 20s when I came to university.
Well, I had the opposite experience. I was always perceived much younger, which is difficult for a psychiatrist, you know, like who's going to trust a teenage psychiatrist, right?
That's an interesting one, yeah. So we should compare our genomes to find out.
Yes, yes, we should. We should. Tell me about a peak experience in your life when you were really, really, really happy.
Peak experience. I think the happiest moment of my life was when my daughter was born.
Yes.
Just it was a moment of complete fulfillment and satisfaction. And you know, the best moment was not the moment when she was born.
Yeah.
It was when her brother came and saw her for the first time.
Yes.
In this moment, his fascination triggered all emotions in my life flowing out.
Huh. Did you cry?
Yes, a bit. And I have a picture of this encounter on my mug here. You see?
Oh, yes, I see. Yes.
And, oh, sorry, I put it this way.
No, I see. I see. Yes.
So this was the very moment, and because I share it so much, I cherish it so much. I kept it and have my daily tea from it.
So you have one daughter and one son?
Yeah, Vanya was already 5 when he came into my life.
Uh-huh.
He is wonderful, and I love him as dearly as my daughter. I just didn't have this very experience with him.
Right.
That's why I can share this without being unfair to him. There's no difference in the affection I have for him, but the one moment here when the four of us together just came together as a family with this little thing, which was now
Right.
become. Okay, yeah.
Right. Right. Um, in terms of your life, in terms of your 60 years, much of it spent in academia, what's the most important thing you have learned about life, about yourself,
I think one thing is you get more humble, especially if you're working in the medical field and if you see how much we don't know and how much we can't cure. And so this was a very important experience for me after a lot of this scientific research, going to work 2.5 years in a hospital. And the second thing is that it all happens between people. It is not about the next scientific paper or a speech you give. It is about talking to others, inspiring each other, and motivating each other to work for a goal. So it is a highly social thing, a political thing in the sense of polis of society. It's not something which is done when I'm writing my next article on the computer.
So that takes me to my last question. I always ask my guests this question. What does being human mean to you?
Being human for me means to be aware of the people around you, and not falling into the trap of just seeing as a technical problem I'm solving. Everything I'm doing is done with people who are highly complex, and I need to understand them, their motivation, what I can do for them to make it a win-win-win situation for all of us who work together.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think I will let you go because I know how busy you are, but I want to thank you for a most informative and human interaction here. I want to say that my guest in 2 weeks will be Dr. O'Leary. She does research and writing on prenatal parenting and pregnancy. Her particular specialty is the study of parenting after the loss of a baby, its impact on both parents and siblings, and the child born after the loss of the baby. Please tune in. And once again, Dr. Hartung, thank you so much and good luck.
Thanks for having me.
Take care. Bye-bye.